The transport ship landed gently on the soft red grass of planet Thalos. It was Earth's first peaceful mission to this alien world. The sky above was a deep purple, and 3 moons hung silently in the air. A team of explorers stepped out, wearing light armor and backpacks filled with tools and scanners. Tomel, a young human botanist and tech engineer, looked around in awe. He had seen pictures before, but standing here was different. The colors were strange but beautiful. The wind was warm. He could hear soft humming from faraway plants, like music made by nature. "This place is amazing," Tomel whispered. His mission was simple: collect samples of alien plants and record information. But deep inside, he also wanted to understand the Velari, the alien people who ruled this planet. They were taller than humans, with glowing silver markings on their skin. The Velari were proud and didn't trust outsiders. Only a few had spoken with humans before. The human camp was set up quickly near a river. Most team members stayed close to the base, but Tomel was too curious. With a scanner in hand and his small Earth phone in his pocket, he wandered off into the nearby forest, carefully stepping between strange flowers and twisting vines. After an hour, he found something special. It was a hidden glade, surrounded by tall glowing trees. In the center was a patch of blue crystal flowers. They moved slightly. Even though there was no wind, they gave off a soft light, and small flying creatures danced above them like butterflies. Tomel smiled and pulled out his phone. It wasn't just for communication, it had a camera. He gently took a picture of the flowers. Click. Then he noticed movement. Someone was standing behind the flowers, watching him. He froze. It was a woman, a Velari woman. She wore a dark cloak, but silver markings on her face and hands were clear. Her eyes glowed gold, and her long white hair fell over her shoulders like water. Tomel took a slow breath. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb this place." The woman tilted her head. "You are not from here." Her voice was calm but powerful. She spoke in perfect Earth language. "No," Tomel said quietly. "I'm from Earth. My name is Tomel. I study plants." She stepped forward slowly. "You carry strange tools." Tomel smiled nervously and held up his scanner. "This tells me if the plants are safe. And this," he showed his phone, "this helps me remember things." She looked at the phone with interest but didn't say anything. "I didn't mean to take a picture of you," Tomel added quickly. "Only the flowers." Her golden eyes stayed on him for a moment longer. Then she nodded. "These flowers are sacred to my people." Tomel's eyes widened. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." She walked past the flowers and stopped in front of him. She was taller than him by a head, but she didn't seem angry. "You are honest," she said. Tomel gave a small laugh. "I try to be." There was silence between them for a moment. Then she said, "You may keep the image, but not many are allowed to see this place." Tomel nodded slowly. "I understand. Thank you." Before he could ask her name, she turned and disappeared between the trees. Her cloak melted into the shadows, and she was gone. Tomel stood there, unsure of what had just happened. He looked down at his phone. The picture of the blue flowers was still there, and just at the edge of the frame, he could see part of her, just her shoulder and a piece of her hair. He didn't delete it. Later that evening, back at the human camp, Tomel told no one about the woman. Something inside told him to keep it quiet. He uploaded the plant data to the team's server, then sat near the fire with his phone in his hand. He looked at the image again. The flowers still glowed in the picture. It felt like a dream. Who was she? He whispered. Far from the camp, in a tall silver tower deep in the forest, Queen Aluna of the Velari removed her cloak and stepped into her quiet chambers. An older woman stood waiting. "My queen, where did you go?" Aluna gave a calm look. "To the sacred glade." The woman gasped. "Alone? That is not safe." Aluna sat down slowly. "I met a human." The woman's eyes went wide. "A human? What did he do?" Aluna was silent for a moment. "He took a picture of the flowers and of me by accident." The older woman stepped closer. "That is an offense, my queen. You are not to be captured by foreign eyes." Aluna raised her hand. "He did not mean harm. He did not even know who I was." You must report this. No, Aluna said softly. I want to learn more. I want to know why he looked at the flowers like they were stars. I want to know why a human carries a picture of me. The older woman said nothing more. She simply bowed and left the room. Aluna looked out the tall window, up at the purple sky. This human, Tomel, she whispered, has a strange heart. The next morning, Tomel woke up early. The alien sun had a soft orange glow, and the air smelled sweet. He stepped out of his tent and stretched. Birds with crystal wings flew across the sky, singing high musical notes. Tomel couldn't stop thinking about the Villari woman from the forest. She had appeared without warning and disappeared like a dream. But he remembered her eyes, bright golden and calm, yet full of power. He reached into his bag and pulled out his phone. He opened the gallery and stared at the picture again. The glowing blue flowers, the quiet trees, and on the edge, a part of her hair and cloak. Even though her face wasn't clear, the moment felt important. He sighed, then joined the others for breakfast. The other humans talked about soil samples and drone flights. No one knew about his meeting in the glade, and Tomel still didn't feel ready to tell them. That afternoon, while the team worked near the river, a strange breeze passed through the trees. The leaves shimmered, and small sparks floated in the air. Tomel felt something shift. He looked. Up, a tall Villari figure stood near the camp entrance. She wore a silver robe and held her head high. Her eyes scanned the area slowly until they stopped on him. It was her. Tomel's heart jumped. She walked forward with grace. The other humans stopped talking. Some reached for their translators. Others just stared. The Villari were rarely seen, and this one was dressed like a royal. Tomel stood up quickly. She stopped a few steps in front of him and spoke in a clear, strong voice. May I speak with you alone? The team leader, Dr. Wren, stepped forward. We should. The Villari woman raised her hand gently. I mean no harm. This is personal. Dr. Wren looked at Tomel and gave a small nod. Go ahead. Be careful. Tomel followed the Villari woman to the edge of the forest where the trees offered some privacy. They stopped beside a tall blue stone. She turned to face him. You still have the device? Tomel blinked. My phone. Yes. He nodded and slowly took it out of his pocket. Yes, it's here. Show me the image, she said softly. Tomel hesitated, but something in her voice was not angry. She wanted to see. He opened the phone and held it up. The image of the glowing glade appeared again. Her golden eyes studied it carefully. Then, her gaze moved to the part of the image where a piece of her cloak and hair was visible. Her lips moved slightly, and she whispered something in her own language. Then she looked at him. Is that me on your phone? Tomel swallowed hard. Yes, but I didn't mean to take your picture. I didn't know you were there until after. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she nodded. You could have removed it, she said. Tomel looked down. I thought about it, but that moment felt special. It reminded me of peace, the flowers, the silence, your presence. I didn't want to forget. She watched him quietly. Most would hide such a thing, or use it as power. But you speak openly. I'm not here to trick anyone, he said honestly. I'm here to learn, to respect. She turned and looked toward the camp. Your people still don't understand our ways. They take pictures, samples, numbers, but they do not feel. I try to feel, Tomel said. I felt something in that glade. I still do. She looked at him again. My name is Aluna. Tomel's eyes widened. Aluna, the Villari queen. She nodded. Tomel took a small step back in surprise. You're the queen? I didn't know. I'm sorry. She raised a hand. Do not fear. I wanted to see if you would treat me the same, even without knowing who I am. He breathed slowly. You're not like I imagined. I thought alien leaders would be cold or proud or distant. Aluna gave a soft smile. Some are. But I prefer to learn with my own eyes. Tomel nodded. I'm honored. Aluna's smile faded. But this is not a small matter, Tomel. A human keeping the queen's image without permission is dangerous. My advisors would demand punishment. They do not trust your kind. Tomel's hands trembled slightly. Then why are you here? Aluna looked at the phone again. Because I want to understand why a human would keep my image not for pride, not for power, but for peace. Tomo didn't know what to say. I can delete it. If it makes things right. No, she said. Keep it, but keep it with care. He nodded. I will. She stepped back. Others may not see things the way I do. Be careful, Tomo. Then, just like before, she turned and walked into the trees. The leaves closed behind her like a curtain, and she was gone. Tomo stood alone for a while, holding his phone to his chest. That night, he returned to his tent and sat quietly. The team asked a few questions about the Velari visitor, but he gave simple answers. No one pushed him. Later, he opened his phone again and looked at the picture. It had not changed, but it now meant something far deeper. He whispered. Aluna, far away in her silver tower, Queen Aluna sat in her quiet room. On the table in front of her was a small glowing stone. She placed her hand on it, and a voice spoke. General Vorik, her military advisor. My queen, I heard you went to the human camp today. I did. They are not to be trusted. Their devices can steal, copy, spread lies. Why do you let this continue? Aluna's voice was calm. Because not all humans are the same. Vorik said nothing. Then he added, if one carries your image and word spreads, it could cause trouble. I know, she said, but I will watch him myself. Vorik's voice grew colder. If this continues, I may have to act. The stone dimmed and silence. Return. Aluna looked out her window toward the stars. Let them try, she whispered. He is not a threat, not yet. The days passed slowly after Queen Aluna's visit. Tomo returned to his plant studies, but his thoughts were always somewhere else deep in the forest, near glowing flowers. Beside a tall Velari queen with golden eyes, he often stared at his phone in private. The picture of the glade felt more alive now, almost like it held a piece of something sacred. But he also felt nervous. What if her people found out? What if the queen changed her mind? One morning, just as the sun rose over the red hills, a message came to the human camp. A Velari messenger stood outside the gate. He was tall, with short silver hair and a sharp voice. Human Tomo, the messenger said. The queen requests your presence. Tomo blinked. Now, yes, you will follow me. Alone. The team leader, Dr. Ren, frowned. That's a risk. Tomo shook his head. It's okay. I trust her. He packed his small bag, put his phone in his pocket, and followed the silent messenger through the forest. They walked for hours. The path curved through glowing trees and across quiet rivers. Strange animals watched from the shadows, but none came close. Finally, they reached a tall white stone gate hidden in a hill. Vines curled around its frame like living threads. The gate opened silently. Inside was a large empty hall with a circle carved into the floor. In the center stood Queen Aluna. She was dressed in soft blue robes, her silver markings glowing softly. She looked at Tomo with a calm but serious expression. You came? Tomo nodded. Of course. She motioned for him to step into the circle. This place is called the Memory Ring. It is a sacred space for the Velari. Tomo looked around. The air inside the ring felt heavy, like the room itself could feel emotions. This ring allows us to share memories, Aluna explained. Thoughts, feelings, even truths. No lies can survive inside. Tomo's eyes widened. You can see my memories, and you will see mine, she said. Mel hesitated. Why? Aluna took a step closer. Because many of my people do not trust humans. They say your kind hides behind sweet words and tools. But I want to know what lives in your heart. If you agree, place your hand on the stone. Tomo looked at the glowing crystal stone in the center of the ring. His hand trembled slightly. I'll do it, he said. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the stone. Aluna did the same. A soft light rose around them, and the world began to change. Suddenly, Tomo found himself standing in a small white room. A little girl lay on a bed, breathing slowly. Machines beeped softly around her. A younger version of Tomo sat beside her, holding her hand. This is my sister, his voice whispered. She was very sick. I used to bring her pictures of other planets to cheer her up. She always believed that aliens would be kind, and that one day I'd go to meet them. The image faded. Now they stood in a garden. Tomo was older, working with strange plants on Earth. He studied late into the night, hoping to one day help others like his sister Dot, then dash space. The ship, his first step on Phalos, and finally, the glade. The glowing flowers, Queen Aluna standing under the trees. The memory froze on her soft image. I kept this, Tomo's voice said, because it reminded me of beauty, peace, and something I thought I lost. The light faded. Tomo opened his eyes and looked at Aluna. She was silent, her face unreadable. Then she stepped forward. My turn, she said. Now Tomo stood in a dark hall. He saw Aluna as a child, standing before a council. She looked afraid. The older Velari scolded her. You are soft, one said. A queen must not feel. Then another scene, a young Aluna smiling at a friend, another Velari noble. But later, that same noble betrayed her during a trade meeting with another world. The betrayal nearly started a war. She trusted him, Aluna's voice whispered. And that trust almost destroyed us. Now Tomo stood beside her in a silent chamber. A room full of old paintings, scrolls, and history. We are taught to lead with silence. Aluna said, with strength. But silence can also become a wall. The memory ended. Both of them stood again in the ring. The light faded, and only the soft wind remained. Tomo spoke first. I'm sorry for what happened to you. Aluna looked at him, her eyes softer now. You carry pain, but also hope. He nodded. So do you? They stood quietly. Then Aluna spoke, her voice thoughtful. You are not like others, Tomo. You do not hide. That is rare. Tomo smiled faintly. I've always believed. After the memory-sharing ritual, Tomo returned to the human camp feeling both amazed and quiet. The images and emotions he had seen inside Queen Aluna's mind were still strong in his heart. Her pain, her strength, and her trust he would never forget them. He didn't tell the others what had happened. It was too deep, too special. And Aluna had not given him permission to speak about it. So, he worked quietly, studying plants, sending data to Earth, and sometimes walking near the edge of the forest, hoping to see her again. 3 days later, she came, not with guards, not with warning. Just as before, she stepped from the trees, like a shadow of light and silver. Tomo was working near a tall red bush when he saw her. Aluna, he said with a smile. She nodded once. I need you to come with me. Now, Tomo blinked. Is something wrong? There's a place I want to show you, she said. A place no outsider has ever been. He didn't ask more. He simply packed his scanner, took his phone, and followed her. They walked deep into the forest. The trees changed color as they moved green to silver, then silver to blue. Strange bird sounds echoed around them. Tiny glowing insects floated in the air like falling stars after a long walk. They reached a wide field with a large black stone standing in the center. The stone was smooth, tall as a house, and it pulsed with a slow, warm light. Tomo stopped and stared. What is this place? Aluna looked at the stone with respect. This is called the Memory Stone. It holds the oldest thoughts of my people. Only our leaders may touch it. It holds truth, pain, history, and trust. Tomo looked at her. Confused, why bring me here? Aluna turned to him. Because there are voices in my court who believe you are a spy. Tomo's heart sank. A spy? But I've done nothing wrong. They believe your phone is dangerous, she said. That you carry images for control. That you will show others my face, or our sacred places, without respect. Tomo shook his head. I would never do that. I know, Aluna said, softly. But they don't. She stepped closer to the stone. I brought you here to prove your heart. If the stone sees your truth and accepts you, no one can deny it. Tomo looked nervous, and if it doesn't, Aluna's face was serious. Then I may not be able to protect you again. He took a deep breath. I trust you, he said. And I trust myself. I'll do it. Aluna gave a small nod. Place both hands on the stone. Tomo stepped forward slowly. The stone felt warm, like sunlight. He placed his hands on the surface. Suddenly, light rose from the ground, and a deep sound filled the air, like thunder underwater. Tomo closed his eyes. He was back in his memories again, but this time, they played without his control. He saw himself as a boy, building a telescope with his sister. He saw his mother, crying softly when the doctors spoke. He saw the day he left Earth, holding a photo of his family, promising to return with stories of peace. He saw Queen Aluna in the glade, standing still like a painting. In the moment he took the picture, then something new. He saw Aluna watching him from the shadows days later, curious, but also confused. He saw her holding a small stone in her hand, whispering to herself, "What does he want from me?" The memories faded. A final image appeared, Tomo holding the phone close to his heart, whispering, "It reminds me of peace." The light vanished. Tomo opened his eyes. Aluna stood nearby, her eyes wide with wonder. The stone now glowed softly behind him. "It accepted you," she said as Tomo stepped back. "I wasn't sure it would. It showed me more than I expected," Aluna said. "Even your private thoughts. Your words were simple, pure." Tomo gave a weak smile. "I guess I'm not that complicated." Aluna smiled gently. "No, you are honest. That is rare." Suddenly, the wind shifted. Aluna turned quickly. Her golden eyes narrowed. From the trees, a sharp voice rang out, "You should not be here." A group of Villari guards appeared, led by a tall man in dark armor. His face was stern, and his eyes burned with anger. "Aluna," he called, "step away from the human." Tomo stepped back in fear. Aluna didn't move. "General Vorik, this is not your concern." "He is a threat," Vorik said. "He carries a forbidden device. He sees sacred places. He walks beside our queen as if he is one of us. He has passed the memory stone," Aluna replied. "I do not trust stones. I trust loyalty." Vorik raised a signal. The guard stepped forward. Tomo looked at Aluna. "What do I do?" "Stay calm," she said. But before anything more could happen, the memory stone began to shine bright, strong, blinding. The guards stopped. Even Vorik stepped back. The stone glowed brighter than ever, and a voice echoed through the field, not loud, but deep and clear. "Truth walks with this one. Do not harm him." The light faded. Silence followed. General Vorik looked shaken. Then he turned away. "We will speak again, my queen." He and the guards disappeared into the forest. Aluna turned to Tomo. "That was the voice of our ancestors. They only speak when danger is close." Tomo looked down at his hands. "I didn't do anything special. You were yourself," she said. That was enough. Later, as the sky turned orange with sunset, Aluna and Tomo sat near the edge of the field. Tomo asked, "Will the others believe it now?" "Some will," she said, "but others will still fear." "What about you?" She looked at him for a long moment. "I do not fear you, Tomo, but I fear what your world may do with mine if they do not see with your eyes." He understood her meaning. Then she added softly, "There may come a time when I must choose between tradition and trust." He didn't know what to say, so he said nothing, and together they watched the sun go down over the memory stone where truth had spoken. The night air on Thalos was cold and silent. The stars above looked closer than they did from Earth. Inside his small tent, Tomo stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. His heart still beat fast from what had happened at the memory stone. The voice that came from the stone, it had protected him. He touched his chest slowly and whispered, "Thank you." Outside, the forest was still, but far from the camp, in the dark halls of the Villari Palace, General Vorik was not resting. He stood before a glowing screen, showing images from a small hidden drone. One of the images was of Tomo's phone and Queen Aluna's face, clearly captured. Vorik's eyes narrowed. "This is enough," he said to his guards. "Tomorrow, we end this." At sunrise, a group of Villari soldiers arrived at the human camp. Their steps were loud and fast. They moved past the other humans and walked straight to Tomo's tent. Tomo of Earth. One said sharply, "You are under arrest." Tomo stood quickly. "What? Why?" A soldier held up a small device. You have captured and saved the image of our queen without permission. It is forbidden. Tomo's eyes widened. Wait, she knew about it. She allowed it. You will explain yourself at the royal court. The guard said. Tomo tried to speak to Dr. Ren, the mission leader, but the Velari didn't allow it. His hands were tied with energy bands, and his phone was taken away. As he was taken into the forest, he whispered, Aluna, where are you? Inside the palace, Queen Aluna sat in the Hall of Truth. Her silver robe shimmered in the morning light. The room was large and silent, with tall pillars and glowing walls. A group of Velari advisors sat nearby, including General Vorik. Vorik stepped forward. Your Majesty, the human called Tomo has been found guilty of capturing your image and hiding it in his personal device. Aluna frowned. He already showed me the image. I allowed him to keep it. Then he should have declared it to the council, Vorik said. Instead, he kept it like a secret weapon. It was not a weapon. Aluna replied calmly. It was a memory. Vorik raised his hand. Let us hear from the human. Two guards brought Tomo forward. His clothes were dirty from the forest trail, but his eyes were clear. He stood tall. I didn't break any trust. The queen knew I had her image. She told me to keep it. Do you deny hiding it? Vorik asked. Tomo looked at Aluna. I didn't hide it. I respected it. I never showed it to anyone, not even my own people. Vorik walked forward slowly. Then why did you send this? He pressed a button. The screen behind him showed a copied message, a file containing the queen's image, sent from a hidden signal. Tomo's mouth opened. That's not mine. I never sent anything. Vorik smiled coldly. The signal came from your phone. Tomo looked at Aluna with shock. You have to believe me. I didn't send that. Someone copied it. I didn't. I wouldn't do that. Aluna watched him quietly. Her eyes showed doubt but also deep thought. Where's his phone now? She asked. Gar handed it to her. Aluna turned to Tomo. If you are honest, your phone will show the truth. She pressed her hand against the device. A soft light scanned through its memory. Then, a surprise. Two different codes had used the phone. One was Tomo's usual usage photos, notes, and scanner logs. The other was hidden, created by external access using a signal near the palace. Aluna stood up. Someone copied and used his phone without his knowledge. Gasps filled the room. Vorik's eyes darkened. Impossible. Aluna turned toward him. Is it? You were the only one near the royal signal tower this morning. Vorik stepped back. You suspect me? Aluna's voice grew strong. I don't suspect. I see. The memory stone trusted this human. And now, his truth shows more honor than one of our own. The guards moved toward Vorik, but he raised a small weapon. I did this to protect the throne. He said sharply, you are too close to this outsider. You forget your place. Tomo stepped in front of Aluna without thinking. Leave her alone. Vorik stared at him, then slowly lowered the weapon. He looked at Aluna. Your feelings will destroy everything. Aluna raised her hand. No. My feelings will protect what matters. Guards, take him. Vorik was arrested and led away. Later, in the palace garden, Tomo sat beside a quiet pool. Aluna walked over and sat beside him. You could have been punished. She said softly. Tomo sighed. I thought you didn't believe me at first. I had to be sure, she said. But deep down, I did believe you. He looked at her. Why? Because when you stood in front of me just now, she said, you didn't protect yourself. You protected me. Tomo looked down. Anyone would do the same. Aluna shook her head. No, not everyone. They sat in silence. The water sparkled under the sun. Aluna broke the silence. The council will meet tomorrow. They will vote whether to let your people continue this mission. Some still fear Earth. Some think we should. And all contact. Tomo's heart sank. Then what do we do? Aluna looked at him, her eyes calm. We show them that a human can be more than just a visitor. You must stand before them and speak for all of Earth. Tomo nodded slowly. Then I'll do it, she smiled. Good, and this time, I'll stand beside you. The next day arrived with soft orange skies over the planet Thalos. A gentle wind moved through the silver trees. But inside the tall marble walls of the Villari Council Hall, tension filled the air like a storm waiting to break. Queen Aluna sat at the front of the large, round chamber. Behind her stood 12 Villari council members, each dressed in dark robes. Their glowing symbols showed wisdom, age, and tradition. In the center of the chamber stood a tall platform, empty. But not for long. On that day, for the first time in Villari history, a human would be allowed to speak inside the sacred hall. The doors opened. Tomel stepped in slowly. He wore a simple gray shirt with the Earth Mission badge on the arm. His heart beat hard, but his face showed calm strength. Aluna gave him a short nod of support as he walked to the center platform. Whispers filled the air. He is the one. He holds the Queen's image. He caused the trial. Tomel heard it all, but he kept walking. When he stood on the platform, Aluna raised her hand for silence. This is Tomel of Earth. She said clearly, he is not here to defend himself. He is here to speak as a friend. One of the elders, Elder Saren, stood. His voice was rough like stone. Queen Aluna, your kindness for this outsider is dangerous. What can this human say that changes what he is? Aluna replied softly, let him speak. If he fails, I will bear the weight. Saren sat down with a slow nod. So be it. Tomel took a deep breath and looked at the room. All eyes were on him. Some eyes were cold, others curious. None were friendly. He began, my name is Tomel. I'm not a soldier, not a leader, and not a spy. I'm just a scientist. I came here to study plants, but instead, I met people. He paused, then continued. I met Queen Aluna in a quiet glade. I didn't know who she was. I took a photo by mistake. When she asked about it, I was honest. I didn't delete it because it reminded me of peace. I thought if there are flowers like this, and people like her, then our worlds have hope. Some council members looked at each other. Tomel kept going. On Earth, we take pictures to remember moments we love, not to control, but to hold something beautiful. I kept that photo not as a prize but as a memory. A different elder, Brina, asked, and yet your device was used to spread that image. How do we know your kind will not do worse? Tomel answered gently. You saw the truth through the memory stone. I didn't send anything. Someone else used my device. But if you still doubt me, I'll show you what I truly carry. He pulled something from his pocket. Not his phone, just a small, folded paper. He opened it. It was a picture. A real photo, one taken on Earth. It showed a little girl smiling, holding a toy spaceship. This is my sister, Tomel said. She believed in aliens long before we ever found real ones. She said, if they're out there, I hope they're kind. She passed away 2 years ago. I came here to keep my promise to find kindness in the stars. Aluna's eyes softened. Elder Brina lowered her gaze. Tomel held the photo close. Your people are strong, wise, but even the wise can become afraid. I am not asking for your trust in all humans. I am asking for your trust in one. Me. He stepped down from the platform. I'll leave this world if you want, but if I go, I want it to be with honor, not with fear between us. Silence filled the hall. Then, to everyone's surprise, Queen Aluna stood up and stepped beside him. She faced the council. You've known me as your queen for many cycles. I have led without war. I have protected our skies. I have kept our traditions. She paused. But today, I must break one. Gasps echoed through the hall. Aluna continued. This human is not my enemy. He carries no weapon. He does not lie. I saw his memories. I felt his truth. She turned slightly, her golden eyes shining. And I choose to stand with him. The room erupted in voices. This is madness. A queen must not choose a foreigner. You would risk the throne? Aluna raised her voice. Yes, she said, if truth costs me the throne, then let it. I will not rule with fear. Tomel looked at her. Stunned. Elder Saren stood once again. Then let us vote. Each of the 12 council members stepped forward, one by one. A glowing orb floated in the center of the room. Each placed their hand over it, and the orb blinked either blue for yes or red for no. 1 blue, 2 red, 3 blue, 4 red, 5 red, The room held its breath. 6. Blue. 7. Blue. 8. Red. Tomo looked down. Only 4 left. The count was close. 9. Blue. 10. Blue. Now all eyes turned to the final 2. 11. Red. The final vote. Elder Brina stepped forward. She looked at Tomo, then at Luna. I have lived long enough to see many mistakes, she said quietly. But today, I see something rare. A human who does not demand. A queen who listens. She placed her hand on the orb. It turned blue. The hall fell silent. 7 votes to 5. The motion passed. Aluna smiled. Tomo let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. You may remain, Elder Saren said slowly, and Earth may continue peaceful contact, but with care. Tomo bowed. Thank you. Later that evening, as the sun set beyond the hills of Thalos, Aluna and Tomo walked through the garden. You were brave today, Aluna said. Tomo looked up at her. So were you? She smiled. This is just the beginning. Others will still doubt. But now, a door has opened. Tomo nodded. And what happens now? Aluna looked at the sky. Now, she said, we build trust with more than just words, together. And as the stars began to shine above, to people one human, one Velari stood side by side, ready to shape the future. Tomo stood near the landing platform, his bag over one shoulder and his Earth badge shining in the morning light. Round him, the open fields of Thalos looked quiet and calm. But his heart felt heavy. It had been 2 weeks since the vote in the Velari Council. Since then, many things had changed. The Council had approved a new agreement. Earth and Thalos would share peaceful research. A communication gate had been built, and humans were allowed to send small teams, but only peaceful ones, and only with the Queen's permission. And Tomo? He was going home. His work on plant samples was done. His mission was complete. But it didn't feel like the end. He looked behind him as the soft wind blew across the stone path. And there she was, Queen Aluna, wearing a silver robe, stepped forward slowly. Her eyes, calm and glowing, met his. Her guards stayed far behind, giving the two privacy. You are leaving, she said softly. Tomo nodded. My time here is over. I need to return to Earth, share what we learned. There was silence for a moment. Then Aluna walked to his side and looked at the sky. Your world is fast, she said, loud, always rushing forward. Tomo gave a small smile. Yours is quiet, but not slow. It's deep, careful. Aluna looked at him. Will you return? He hesitated, then said, if your people still trust me, if you still allow it. She nodded once. Then I will wait. They stood there, side by side, under the soft golden light. Then Aluna reached into her sleeve and pulled out a small object. This, she said, placing it in his hand, is for your sister. Tomo opened it carefully. It was a sea bright blue, shaped like a tiny spiral. She believed in kindness, Aluna said. Plant this near her resting place. When it blooms, it will carry part of our world into yours. Tomo felt a lump in his throat. Thank you. She would have loved this. He carefully placed the seed in his bag. Then he laughed softly. You know, it all started because I took a photo. Aluna smiled. Yes, a photo you didn't delete. They both chuckled. The memory felt far away, yet so close. Then Aluna grew serious again. Tomo, she said gently, before you go, there's something I must ask. He turned to her, curious. Anything. She pointed toward the small hill beside the platform. Come with me. Just one more moment. They walked up the hill together. On top stood a stone archway old, covered in climbing plants. It was a place of quiet reflection. A sacred place. This is where past queens came to speak before great decisions, Aluna said. Now I come here to speak to you. She turned and looked at him directly. When I saw my image on your device, I was angry. I thought it was shameful, even dangerous. But now I understand humans capture moments to remember feeling. I have learned much from you. Tomo listened silently. I want to ask you, not just to return, but to be something more. He blinked. More. Yes, she said. A bridge between our worlds. Not a soldier, not just a scientist, but someone who carries both hearts. Tomo felt the weight of her words. He wasn't sure what to say. You've changed how my people see yours, Aluna said, but we still walk a thin path. There will be problems, doubts, fear. We need someone strong enough to stand between both. Tomo nodded slowly. I'll try. She gave a rare smile. Trying is enough, for now. Then she reached into her other sleeve and took out one more item. It was a small metal pin shaped, like a flower with 3 petals. This is the mark of the star listener, she said. It has no power, no title, but those who see it will know. You carry my trust. She placed it gently on his chest. Tomo looked at her. I don't know what to say. Aluna tilted her head. Say nothing. Just remember. Minutes later, the human shuttle arrived. It floated down slowly, stirring dust and leaves. Its lights blinked green, ready to depart. Tomo turned to Aluna one last time. Will you ever visit Earth? He asked. Perhaps, she replied, if your people can grow gardens like ours. He smiled. Challenge accepted. They stood close. Neither reached out for a goodbye gesture. It wasn't needed. Their silence said more. I'll see you again, Tomo said quietly. I know, Aluna whispered. Then, without another word, he walked toward the shuttle. The door opened. He stepped inside. The light closed behind him. Aluna stood still on the hill, her robes flowing in the wind. She watched the shuttle rise slowly, like a leaf in the breeze, and then shoot upward into the sky. Soon, it vanished among the stars. Weeks later, Tomo knelt near a quiet patch of soil in a city garden. The evening sun touched the flowers. Softly in front of him was a small stone. His sister's name was written on it. He took the blue spiral seed and pressed it gently into the ground. Then he poured a bit of water from a silver flask marked Thalos Mission 1. He sat there for a while, just breathing. Around him, the city hummed, cars moved, drones passed by. Children laughed in the distance. But for that moment, everything felt still. He looked at the sky. Somewhere out there was a quiet world with glowing trees, a queen with golden eyes, and a garden waiting to bloom again. Tomo smiled, and as he stood to leave, the wind shifted. A tiny green sprout pushed up from the soil.